Welcome back to Top 5. The Stanford Prison Experiment, 1971. Conducted by psychologist Philip Zimbardo at Stanford University, this infamous experiment aimed to study the psychological effects of perceived power. College students were assigned roles as guards or prisoners in a simulated prison environment. What started as an academic exercise quickly spiraled into chaos. The guards became increasingly abusive, while the prisoners suffered severe emotional distress. The experiment was terminated after only 6 days, rather than the planned 2 weeks, highlighting the darkness of human nature when placed in positions of authority. 9. The Milgram Experiment, 1961. Psychologist Stanley Milgram sought to understand obedience to authority through a series of controversial experiments. Participants were instructed to administer electric shocks to a learner, an actor, whenever they answered questions incorrectly. Despite hearing simulated screams of pain, many participants continued to administer shocks, demonstrating how ordinary people could commit acts of cruelty when ordered to do so. The unsettling results raised ethical questions about psychological harm and the limits of scientific inquiry. 8. The Little Albert Experiment, 1920. John B. Watson and Rosalie Rayner conducted this experiment to demonstrate classical conditioning on a young child known as Little Albert. They exposed him to a white rat paired with loud, frightening noises, leading Albert to develop an intense fear of the rat and other white, furry objects. This unethical experiment not only traumatized the child but also raised questions about the long-term effects of conditioning. The fate of Little Albert remains a mystery, but the implications of the study left a haunting legacy in psychology. 7. Operation Midnight Climax, 1950s to 1960s. As part of the CIA's MKUltra program, Operation Midnight Climax involved the use of sex workers to lure unsuspecting clients into safe houses where they were secretly drugged with LSD. The intention was to study the effects of the drug on behavior and the potential for mind control. The ethical violations and exploitation of vulnerable individuals in this project are chilling. The operation was eventually shut down, but the extent of the CIA's experiments on unwitting subjects evokes a deep sense of betrayal and horror. 6. The Aversion Project, 1970s to 1980s. In South Africa, the Aversion Project was a series of experiments conducted by the apartheid government aimed at curing homosexuality in gay soldiers. The project involved brutal methods, including electroshock therapy, chemical castration, and other forms of psychological and physical torture. Victims were subjected to inhumane treatment in an attempt to change their sexual orientation, leading to severe psychological trauma and long-lasting effects. The project exemplifies the extreme lengths to which authorities will go to enforce conformity and the horrific consequences of such ideologies. 5. The CIA's MKUltra program, 1950s to 1970s. The MKUltra program was a covert CIA project that aimed to develop mind control techniques through various means, including drug experimentation, hypnosis, and psychological manipulation. Subjects were often unaware they were being used in experiments, and many suffered severe psychological damage. The program's chilling effects, including the use of LSD and other drugs on unsuspecting individuals, raised profound ethical concerns and shed light on the dark side of government-sanctioned research. 4. The Skinner Box, 1930s to 1940s. B.F. Skinner's experiments with operant conditioning involved placing animals, primarily rats and pigeons, in isolated boxes that delivered food as a reward for certain behaviors. While this research aimed to understand behavior modification, it also included extreme deprivation methods, causing significant distress to the animals. The implications of using living beings as mere subjects for behavioral conditioning highlight the moral dilemmas faced in the name of scientific advancement. 3. The Harlo monkey experiments, 1950s to 1960s. Psychologist Harlo conducted a series of experiments on rhesus monkeys to study attachment and maternal bonding. He separated infant monkeys from their mothers and provided them with two surrogate mothers, one made of wire and one covered in soft cloth. The infants overwhelmingly preferred the cloth mother, demonstrating the importance of comfort and security in attachment. However, the emotional trauma inflicted on the baby monkeys, who were left isolated and distressed, raises ethical concerns about animal welfare and the lengths researchers will go to in the name of science. 2. The Monster Study, 1939. Conducted by Wendell Johnson at the University of Iowa, the Monster Study aimed to explore the effects of labeling on children's speech. Orphan children were divided into two groups. One received positive reinforcement for their speech, while the other was subjected to negative feedback, branding them as stutterers. The emotional trauma inflicted on the children led to lasting psychological effects and speech issues in some cases. This experiment, intended to help understand speech development, instead caused significant harm and highlighted the ethical responsibilities of researchers. 1. The Nazi medical experiments, 1930s to 1940s. During World War II, Nazi doctors conducted horrific medical experiments on concentration camp prisoners, often without consent. These experiments included exposure to extreme temperatures, testing the limits of human endurance, and performing surgeries without anesthesia. Victims suffered unimaginable pain and trauma, and many died as a result. The chilling nature of these experiments not only exemplifies the depths of human cruelty but also led to the establishment of ethical guidelines in medical research, including the Nuremberg Code, which emphasizes the necessity of informed consent and the humane treatment.